Hey everyone, what's going on? This is Jerome Reid, and I just want to welcome you to Influencers Impact. This podcast has been a huge encouragement to so many people. So if you've been listening on Spotify or Apple Music, please make sure to leave a review. And if you're watching here on YouTube, I would love it if you can leave us a comment. Now in this moment, you're going to be watching an incredible interview. So I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy this video. All right, so first question that I want to ask is, what do you do, and where are you living right now? Like, where are you spending your time?
Yeah, I live in Costa Mesa, California right now, just outside of Newport Beach, and I run an online school called theology, and it's kind of like Netflix for theology, basically. But it's somewhere in between Netflix for theology meets a tiny Bible school. So It's like we have, I don't know, maybe 28, 30 courses, something like that. And they're all, I'm going to back up.
That's okay.
I was in New York City for 9 years with Hillsong New York City. And sorry, are you there? Sorry.
Yep, I'm still here.
I'm doing this on my phone. Somebody just tried to call me.
Oh,
so I was in New York City, and I was a teaching pastor there, and I was running what we called the evening college. And evening college is essentially, we take Bible college courses and then we distill them. So, teach them over 12 weeks, 14 weeks or whatever, or six or 7 weeks, and it's 2 hours a week or whatever. So that's what I was doing. And then I basically just, kind of wrote a ton of courses. And then when I left New York, because I was starting to travel a ton, and that's kind of what I thought I wanted to do. And so I started to travel and speak and stuff. And then I had this idea last year, like, man, maybe we should put this all online for people to access it, because that's what I had a lot of people just going, hey, like so many people want to maybe have some sort of Bible college education, but they can't afford it. You know what I mean? And maybe they, want to take a couple courses. They don't want to take a whole semester of courses, and they don't have time for homework or whatever. So basically, we just created these, like, you can take the book of Romans in 6 hours. It's kind of fun. It's light. Essentially we just kind of distill these courses that would typically be, 24 hours, and we distill them. So long story short, I run the school. There's like 3,500 students from all over the world.
Wow.
It's $14 a month, and it's just growing. It's growing insanely. And then we're launching a Bible college called Theos Seminary. And that's going to be the same thing. It's a subscription Bible college, $99 a month. We launch it next month, and we're just kind of reimagining what ministry training would look like in terms of just the interaction, the user experience, less lecture time, more work time, more Bible, no gen eds. Our undergrad's going to have like Greek 1 and Greek 2 in it, and stuff like that. So long story short, that's kind of what I do. Like, I travel and speak. I live in California, and I run these 2 crazy schools.
That's amazing, man. And I think what you're doing is super incredible, because there's so many, like, I went to Bible college here in Ontario, and I know there's a lot of people who want to be in ministry, but they, for one, don't know how to start, or 2, they don't have the money because it's super expensive.
100.
So honestly, what you're doing with theology, and I have a subscription with you guys, and it's been incredible so far. So
cool.
I'll definitely recommend anyone, if they can, to keep going for sure.
Cool. Thanks, Jerome. It's bro, like, when I was living in New York, I think one of the things that I saw, and I didn't see this, I never saw this in Canada, like, United States, and people living paycheck to paycheck here is so different to what we have in Canada. But I just remember students, from places in New York, and like for them to go to Bible college is like, it would never, like, it's like a dream. You know what I mean? Like, I was broke, but I was able to go to Bible college. But like these kids, you know, like they just never going to be in the cards for them. Like they just don't have employment. You know, I don't know. So I wanted to like create something that would be at $1 level for them, but it would have awesome ministry training. You know what I mean? As well, I had so many friends who they were in New York, even working at our church there, but they'd never had Bible college education or any exposure to, you know, theological systems of thought, whatever. And so I just want to create something that like somebody who, I mean, we have MDivs, we have PhDs who have, and multiple, who are subscribers to theosu, and they love it.
Wow.
And then we have people who like are barely even a Christian, or some people who maybe aren't even Christian, and they're just like, what is this thing? I want to learn about what Christians believe. So it definitely is something for the whole gamut, for sure. I'm passionate about it. Obviously, I'm talking about it here,
Dude,
selling my product.
That's absolutely amazing. So would you say ministry was always something that you saw yourself doing growing up, or is this something that God completely wrecked you?
Oh, dude, yeah. Dude, I never, ever wanted, if you told me that I would be living here and doing what I'm doing, I probably would have been like, yeah, I'm not going to New York. I'm going to stay in Canada. I mean, it's definitely been a crazy journey the last 10 years. I wanted to do music, and that's kind of actually why I came down to the States to begin with. And I did music for a number of years. I was in this band with my brother called the Royal, and it was a kind of worship thing, and I was pursuing other projects. I kind of wanted to be a producer, songwriter, etc. And then I don't know, just like this stuff sort of fell apart, the music stuff on me, and which I'm still bitter about. And Carl Lentz offered me a job, and so I started doing that and started to enjoy it. And then I started speaking, and I never thought in a million years that I just never, dude, I'm not the ministry type, you know, like I don't check the ministry boxes. And I mean, maybe that's why I thought that I couldn't do it, because I'm like, I have long hair. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't really like, it's not that I don't like Christians and I don't like churches. I'm just not really churchy or Christianese, and I don't really like that stuff. So I love Jesus and I love the scriptures, but I'm just like, I'm sort of like averse to just some cultural things. So for me, I guess it's been like, it's definitely been like I don't even know if like, I'm not like Paul or Jonah. I mean, I guess in some ways we're all Jonah. But it's more like, you know, the Lord just keeps on opening doors, and I just feel responsible enough to walk through them. So it's like when somebody invites you to speak, you go, you know, like, and then I speak at a conference, and then I get 5 more invitations. And so then I just, okay, well, I'm just going to go. So as long as people are inviting me, I'm going to go. And I don't know how it happened. I never promoted myself as a speaker. I don't, like, I have a website now, but it's not something that I like, even on my Instagram. I don't have, my website's not on my Instagram. Like, I don't, it's not something that I've ever tried to project myself as. It's kind of happened. And I probably, like, consistently, dude, when I go to churches, I was at a church recently, a big church, and I had a Metallica or Guns N' Roses shirt on. Like, it's like Sunday morning, and I just don't care. Like, but I probably just don't think as well. And they're like, they asked me to change my shirt, and I remember going, like, I'm just not the kind of guy who, you know what I mean? Like, I rock up and like I look like I haven't showered in days, and that's like, it's kind of my aesthetic. And so it always amazes me, like the places that I go. So for sure, man, it's been weird, and I think maybe that's my shtick. Like, maybe that's what people like, is that I'm not churchy, but I'm very, very theological or whatever. But all that to say, it's not something that I ever pursued.
Yeah.
And why? Why would you pursue it? Why would you pursue $40,000 a year?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to be broke like my parents were. And my parents are pastors, and they've lived a very modest life, but I've seen the way church has treated my dad.
Yeah.
And you know, my dad took over the church that he pastors now over 20 years ago. We lived up top in the church offices because they couldn't pay my dad enough money. So like ministry has cost my family a great deal. And you know, it's a joy to do what the Lord calls you to do, but it's never been something that I'm going, wow, this is going to be sick. You know, like,
That's right.
because it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. And some people do make a lot of money in ministry, and maybe one day I'll make a lot of money in ministry. And you know, I don't know necessarily how I feel about that. You know, I'm just being real open and honest right now with you.
That's so good.
Because I don't think that you should ever, like, I've never made a decision for money. I've never done that. I've never done that. I hope that I never do that. I hope that I always make decisions based off of serving people. You know, I think I said no to speaking at somebody's place once because I just felt like they were going to abuse me. And the conference ended up being canceled. And that's the only decision I ever made about money. And I called my dad and I said, Dad, I'm saying no to these people because I think they're going to screw me over.
Yeah.
My dad is like, he's my heart checker. He makes sure that I'm always doing things for the right reasons, you know,
That's
like,
awesome, man. You need that.
yeah, you have to have that.
Yeah.
So I got some old school wisdom and protection for sure with my dad, but I don't know, dude, like I you know, you don't get into this. So I always kind of wanted to do something else because I didn't want to be broke. So, but now I'm doing this, and you know, and so far we haven't missed a rent payment.
There you go.
So things are working, and things are you know, things are good. I guess I enjoy what I do. I probably would like to do more creative things, and I probably will do more creative things. Like I want to write fantasy novels, and I want to write some screenplays, maybe direct a movie, and I want to create a children's curriculum. There's a lot of things that I want to do, but I'm doing this because I am being asked to do it. And I speak and be in ministry. And because I feel like I do have a bit of a burden, you know, like I have a burden for people who want to learn more about the Bible. That's a burden. And so I'm just trying to, does that make sense? So that's me in a nutshell.
Honestly, like Nathan, everything you just said just then, I resonate with. Because for me, like I didn't want to go into ministry. I wanted to be an actor, and that's what I wanted to pursue was acting. And I kept thinking to myself, sure, I'll go to Bible college, but I think when I get out of this, I'll learn more about Jesus, and then I'll do acting. I'll do my own thing. And now being a pastor for almost 5 years, I definitely can see God doing something in my life. But there's still a part of me, it's like, you know, I still have a passion for drama and arts. I still have a passion for creating things. God is like, it's never going to happen. And sometimes I feel like it never will, but then just to hear you share how you're doing what you're doing and you love it, but there's more things that you would want to do. I think it kind of goes to show that, and it's amazing that you're the first pastor that I have this interview with on Influencers Impact, because the whole purpose to really focus on highlight that we're all creatives, and that we were created by the ultimate creator. And so I just find it amazing that God has given everyone tools to do more than one thing. But sometimes we like to stay, or people tell us, I should say this, people like to tell us, stay in your lane, but you feel like God is drifting you in different places where you don't know what's my lane. Like, what does that look like?
Oh, dude. I think I just had a thought, and maybe this is like a Jerome Nathan moment here where we kind of change some language, but I think that stay in your lane is going to be the new mantra that I destroy in the next year. You know, where it's like, we always tell people to stay in their lanes, and I get the idea, you know, of it, and it can be useful at times, but like, G.K. Chesterton's one of my favorite authors, and he wrote an appreciation of Robert Louis Stevenson, who wrote kidnapped, and Treasure Island and all that fun stuff from I think it's the 18th century. And so Robert Louis Stevenson was a horrible violin player, like atrocious. And so he would play his violin at night after dinner, and like to the pain of everybody who lived in his house and his neighbors, and like cats everywhere, screeching, and but he just loved doing it. It brought him so much joy. And we have that. Chesterton was remarking on that axiom that if you're going to do something, do it well.
Yeah.
And he was saying, if you're going to do something, just do it because you love it. You don't have to necessarily do it well. Like, why is that? Like, why not just doing something because you love doing it? And so for sure, like I've always resonated with that thought that, like, I don't have to do, like, I've had friends come up to me. I have a bunch of different musical projects, that I tinker on and kick the tires on, so to speak. And I've had a couple friends come up and go, dude, if you just did one project, it would be so successful. And I'm like, but I don't do this to be successful. I do this because I enjoy it,
Yeah.
And to your point, Jerome, like, maybe you won't be a successful actor, but in terms of like some sort of industry blockbuster,
right.
But maybe we should do all types of different things. And maybe, like, we need to be more Renaissance men, where, it wasn't uncommon in the 15th and 16th century that people would do all kinds of different things, and it's sort of, the creativity bleeds into other things. Like, why can't a pastor own a tech company and write a fantasy novel? I mean, look at C.S. Lewis, he dabbled in so many different things. So I reckon, dude, that's definitely, maybe it's a generational thing, but we're just kind of like, hey, like, don't box me in type thing.
Yeah, I totally think that. So in your life and what God has been doing with you right now, how do you feel that, with what's been going on with COVID-19, how do you think that has shaped your relationship with God?
Yeah. How has it shaped my relationship with God? I would say it's definitely made me it's caused me probably to be a bit I don't think anything's really changed, like, I don't think it had shaped anything. This is the first time in our lives that we've ever seen, like, something that remotely looks like a somewhat of a national crisis, in terms of, like, a global financial crisis, like, and restrictions and lockdowns, and exploring government control, and exploring that what is the parameters and the boundaries of individual freedom versus the collective, or really in many countries, like, especially like Canada, like, what the government decides for you to do. What are those, what's the threshold there? So that's probably been a lot more, in my relationship with God has probably become a bit more, in some ways, practical. Like, it's been causing me to, it's not like I've been like, oh, like this, I have time to, really pick up the guitar and dig into my devotional life. It's actually been more like reflective, as in, like, what are the things that I believe and our core values, and there's things in me that I need to make, like, because typically I believe that what bothers you is what you should do. And so, there's been some things where I've been, like, realizing, like, the way that things are, and I'm sure that, I mean, look at the Black community, for example, in America and in Canada, whatever. It's like, there's things that are definitely bothering them. They have every right to be pissed off. But in my world as well, there's questions I think that people are asking, and so I guess I would say that it would be somewhat of a, my relationship with God has become a bit more practical, where it's been like, okay, Lord, like I don't like this, and I want to maybe change this in society, or I want to go down the path on, if that makes sense. So it's not been like a spiritual awakening. I mean, perhaps it has been, but less experiential in the sense of devotional, and more sort of like contemplative, and a reordering of my values, and seeing some of the things that I value that I didn't realize that I valued come to the surface. Because like pressure, when you put water into a hose, that's when you find the leak, right?
Right.
And so pressure reveals things in you, right? So COVID-19 for me, I'm seeing some things in me that I didn't realize bothered me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So that's kind of what it's been. It's definitely changed some of my focus a little bit, and made me, whatever. I hope. Sorry, that's a bit long-winded, and
No.
I guess in some ways maybe it's a bit hard to follow, but
That's really good. And if anyone can't track it, they could always watch this back. Because I was tracking with you the whole way, man. So that made perfect sense.
Cool.
So they might not all know this, people that'll be watching this later on, but you are also an author. You wrote a book called Hearing God.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who is going through the same type of season we are right now, where the world's just all over the place, and they are having a hard time understanding how God is in the midst of all this?
Yeah.
What would you say to that person who's kind of struggling to hear God?
Yeah, I would say, so in my book, I talk about how we need community, and we need pastors, and we need people people that know us, and that we're known by them, in order to hear God. So like, obviously the scriptures are our final source, but God speaks through people, and he prefers that mode. And so I think what COVID-19 perchance has revealed to many folk is the lack of community in their life, and how they've actually created an isolation.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So for me, that's kind of what I would emphasize. I would say, hey, look, like if you're having difficulty hearing God, I would start by asking the question, how involved in your community were you? How known by people are you? Like, have you been having conversations? Do you have deep relationships where people know you, and they can speak into your life, and you can share and walk things out and work things out? Like, I really believe that's and that's where the kind of like the prophetic edge comes in, et cetera. So I would say that. And then ultimately, are you using this time to get to know the word, and and understand, you just know the scriptures and do some study, so that would definitely be my two things. But I think that the community element's probably something that, people don't understand why we meet, why churches meet. And one of the big reasons why we meet, not the first reason, but one of the big reasons why we meet, is because we desperately need each other, and we desperately need pastors and people that know us and are able to speak into our life and the blind spots in the places of our life. So so going forward, I hear God, man, through my pastors and through people that know me. And when I'm frustrated, I go to Jesus, but I also work things out in the community of faith, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because at the end of the day, even pastors need pastors.
100.
And like sometimes I tell people, that have a hard time struggling. And I love how you said like community is a big aspect, because I'll tell people, if you come to church on Sunday and you come to church thinking that the Holy Spirit's going to you want the Holy Spirit to download things into you, the way he works is he'll download things into you so that you can upload those things to someone else, to
That's
build
great.
those relationships, to
Yeah,
connect.
that's really good.
But a lot of times we just like to soak it all in like a sponge, and we don't want to release it. We want to get fat and keep it to ourselves. And then we cry out to God, God, why aren't you, talking to me? What he wants us to release some things
Right.
to others.
That's so good. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, God. I mean, when you see the Corinthian church at play, like I always tell people, like love is not silent. Love is audible.
Yeah.
And the prophetic in the local church isn't supposed to be spooky. It's not the way Paul paints it.
No.
It's to cheer up, stir up, and build up. And I need somebody to do that to me, and I need to do that to somebody, and that's part of the body being the body.
Mm-hmm.
For edification, encouragement, and comfort. So, yeah, man, I'm with you.
Yeah, that's good. I guess I'll ask you one more question, because I'm trying to honor the time that we have.
Cool.
And so what I want to ask is, or from what I want to let you know what I've seen, and I want to ask you a question.
Yeah, please.
You're the type of person that I fully believe is an anomaly in a sense, kind of like me, where others will look at you and not assume right away that you're a minister, a man of God. And I don't know what it is with people. Like, I get it all the time, but what I love is your passion.
Because you're cool.
Thanks, man.
It's like, there's no way that Jerome could be in ministry. He doesn't look like a dork.
Exactly. And then they think the same as Nathan. What I see in you is your passion for people and for God is always, I'm not gonna say always the same, because I haven't seen you 24/7, but it appears to me that it's the same. The same way that you treat others is the same way that Christ treats you. And what I want to ask, and I think this will probably tie in with what God has been doing in your life with theosu and the ministry you've been a part of, is where has that passion, where did that passion come from? Was it always something like you were always passionate about things and God kind of geared you that way? Or did this just happen in your life at some point or some specific moment for you?
Yeah, wow. So for sure, my parents, man. Any atheist who wants to come at me is absolutely right. I got it from my parents.
Yeah.
You get your faith. Paul said, Timothy, you got your faith from your grandma, and you got it from your mother. So I don't have a problem just coming out and just saying, yeah, 100%. I have a legacy of faith, and that's my parents. And my parents, there's a deposit in me. It's probably one of the best ways to explain to people what you have. Is it's a deposit. People have deposited into my dad and my mom for decades, and then my parents deposited that into me. And then when I went to Bible college, and I was with my teachers and some mentors of mine, they deposited something into me. So I just have a deposit, and if people like the deposit, it's not so much Nathan as it is decades of other people's deposit. It's a tradition that's been, it's like wealth. I am it's like generational wealth, which is a great conversation that people are having right now.
Yeah.
But I am generationally wealthy, spiritually. Not financially. So that's kind of where my passion comes from. My passion comes from other people's passion. And there's definitely a mimetic aspect to our passion. And for sure, I didn't go to a church that sucked. My parents took us to an awesome church, and an awesome church in Hamilton, and then my dad pastored a church, and our church experiences were wonderful. Our Living Hope in Hamilton, Ontario, just an incredible church. And I just grew up to love church, and it was never boring. It was so fun, and my friends were there. And and then, I had real experiences with, in God in my youth and in Bible college. And so, but I would really say that, that my passion, sorry, Jerome, people keep on trying to call me. I should have done this on my laptop, but I don't,
cool.
Like, just rookie move of the year over here.
That's all right.
But yeah, so that's kind of like, I guess, a bit long-winded again, but I think it's definitely from my parents and from their legacy and from my mentors and their legacy. And my dad, some people have horrible experiences in church, and that's legitimate. I'm not that guy. There's things that I don't like about the church. Of course I had some bad experiences, but I had overall good experiences, and I trusted my leaders, and my dad was the same guy in the pulpit that he was on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. And so when you have people in your life who are consistent and they're legit, and you see the fruit of it, then you want to be a part of it, so it's my faith came down to me from others.
That's totally amazing. Yeah. I think a lot of people can relate with you with that. I think a lot of who we are is because of what we've seen from our parents and from our friends. And, it's true where they say, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. The people that you have around you can shape you.
Yeah.
Regardless if you like it or not.
It's facts. Big facts.
So Nathan, I just want to, again, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate all that you've been speaking to me about, and for everyone else that's going to be watching this, I know they're going to be blessed as well.
Dude, thanks for having me, and really great getting to know you.
Yeah, for sure. We'll definitely keep in touch.
Yeah, I got your phone number, so you can't get rid of me.
No, that's right, man. You can't get rid of me either. Even if you want to, you can.
Okay, good.
All right, bro. Well, thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your day, because I know it's the early evening for you. Later.
That's right. Yeah, I'm going to cook some burgers with my wife, and we're going to search for some houses. We're moving to Palm Springs in a couple weeks, and so we're trying to find a place to live. Yeah, well, I'll definitely be praying for you guys for that. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. All right, man. Well, enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Much love, brother. All right, you too. Bye. Cheers.